So I know we talk a lot about immigration enforcement operations that we've seen here in North Carolina here at 7 o'clock, and it's for good reason. All right, WRAL polling has shown, and we know this, you know this, immigration was one of the top issues in the 2024 election. After our coverage last week, we received hundreds of emails from viewers to our email, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. People asking for more information, wanting more context on this topic. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should support the immigration enforcement. All right, that is up to you. But when you are forming your opinion, we want you to at least have the facts straight. We saw lots of claims online about the operations last week, and some of them, frankly, were misleading. I asked WRAL state government reporter Will Doran to help us get to the truth. So, Will, you can't really blame people on not knowing what to believe, not knowing what to trust. We'll start with an example of just good old-fashioned misinformation. We saw someone being detained by border agents. They were on a stretcher as they were coming out, and suddenly all these claims exploded that person had been shot, which turns out to just not be true.
Yeah, it's a really dramatic video, Dan. It's this person being wheeled away, and there are masked, heavily armed agents, kind of on guard as this crowd around them films, and it says, ICE just shot somebody in Charlotte. So we reached out to DHS. Is this true? No truth to it. It was in Charlotte. That person was in ICE custody. They confirmed these details, but they said he wasn't shot. He was arrested and suffered a panic attack, and that's why he was in the stretcher. So, there's an example of DHS helping debunk some misinformation on this. But on the other hand, sometimes we are having to go and debunk misinformation that's actually coming from the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, a great example of that is the conversation around the 1,400 detainees. DHS claiming that there are 1,400 people in custody throughout North Carolina, and law enforcement will not give them access to these 1,400 people. That's also not true.
Exactly. This would be a huge deal if it were true, because it's actually against the law here in North Carolina for sheriffs to refuse to hand over inmates to ICE if they want them. But we asked for proof of this big claim that they made. They couldn't respond with any sort of evidence that this was the case. And so we reached out to the State Sheriff's Association and said, hey, have you guys heard any complaints about any of your individual members? There's 100 different sheriffs in North Carolina. Maybe one of them is holding on to people not handing over to ICE. No proof there again. So it just seems to be that there is just no evidence for that. We don't really know where it came from. And in fact, we heard from the Charlotte sheriff, Gary McFadden. He said that they do have about 85 people in their jail who they have told ICE that they come pick up if they want to, and they just haven't come and taken them. So, if anyone is still in behind bars and not in federal custody, even though if they're suspected of being here illegally, that's probably more on ICE than it is on local law enforcement.
While we have you here, let's talk about another claim then made by DHS in Charlotte, saying that after their operations there, traffic was impacted in some way. The traffic got better. Did we look into that?
We did, and anyone who's ever been to or lived in Charlotte knows that traffic is a huge problem there. And so what they did is they posted on social media the traffic map, the GPS, when you look at it, it shows all green, just beautiful, no traffic jams. They said, Charlotte, you're welcome. And so we said, I wonder if this is true. Have these raids led to just a complete solve of all these traffic problems in Charlotte? So we reached out to the State Department of Transportation, which records all of this stuff in real time every single day. And they said, there is maybe a little bit of truth to it. Traffic is down 1% in some roads in Charlotte, 6 or 7% on some other roads when ICE was in town and conducting their raids. So there was a bit of an improvement, but did they really solve all of these traffic jams? Probably not.
Like most of these things, they deserve a closer look. Will and his team have been doing those closer looks, and it's the subject of the Daily Download podcast. So if you're interested in getting a little bit more involved in some of the conversations we are having here, go ahead and check that out anywhere you listen to your podcast. Will, thank you.
Thanks.